Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively into a fresh week here and a fresh holiday. If you hear music or music stories or musicians, it's a little bit of a theme. Friday is International Music Day. With the Ravens playing on Monday night against the Chargers, we're taking a little chance here to put some music out in advance of Thanksgiving and getting folks together and let folks know we do more than just sports around here. We do some politics, some business, some crab cakes. We're doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour presented by the Maryland Lottery on Thursday in Hampstead. We'll be at Green Mount Station, one of my favorite crab cakes. Go on up. Come on up, say hello. They got the whole sports betting casino action thing going on there. They also have a beautiful bowling alley adjacent as well. David Richardson's going to come out. We're going to talk some horse racing, amongst other things. All that powered up by our friends at Jiffy Lube Multi-Care as well. Luke was in Pittsburgh this week. We're doing music around here, a whole bunch of things leading up into the holidays and crab cake tours out and about. I think this guy will be joining me somewhere along life's journey, whether it's, and by the way, Leonard, I got to let you know, I'm inspired by the crab cake tour. And we're like 5 years into the crab cake tour now, that I've never really had the crab cake tour at a place that doesn't have a crab cake. And I'm going to do that for the very, very first time because this place is family to me. You
What?
know this.
What is that?
We're going to, you'll understand why, Amici. So we're going to honor the Pane Rotundo as sort of not a crab cake, but if you're, like it's still delicious. And we're going to do the show at Amici's for because I like Amici's and it's Christmas time and I
Got
want to
it.
go down and I want to talk about things. They had a big story in the fishbowl and I got jelly. I'm like, so other media companies get to tell the Amici story and I don't get to tell the Amici story? Phooey on that.
Right. We'll
Not
have
after
none
all
of
the
that.
marinara I've eaten. So we're going to go tell the Amici
Exactly.
story. And I have a
Exactly.
hard time believing that a man like you would balk at coming down to Amici's
No,
because they
it's as
don't
good
have
as
a
it
crab
gets.
cake.
It's
So
as
if
good
I
as it
invite you to
gets.
a crab cake tour at Amici's, are you coming?
I'm coming,
There you
sure.
go. That's all you need to know.
Date
Is that
fits,
one for
I'm
one?
in.
That's
Date
it.
fits, I'm in. I don't need a crab cake there. They're as good as it gets.
How are you holding up? And Luke and I, we get at this honest, right? I wrote my column this.
Yeah.
I'm banned from the locker room. So there's a whole part where the whole Pittsburgh thing happens. It really kind of pisses me off all over again.
Dreadful.
Yeah, well, it's
Dreadful.
just Luke has to drive up alone, drive back alone. Just the
Yeah.
whole deal, right? Like it's a long day.
I'm talking about the game. Dreadful.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Luke having to drive to Pittsburgh.
Well,
It is
that's pretty
dreadful.
bad too.
It's dreadful too.
That's
You've been
bad
on
too.
you've been on 70 West. You know the potholes up
Yes,
there.
it's
They
terrible.
have families in those potholes
They
up
have
there.
they have two seasons in Pennsylvania,
Construction,
and winter.
correct. Then those are the two. We're in both
Winter,
right now.
winter and construction. That's their two seasons in Pennsylvania.
Have
And
you been to a Ravens game in Pittsburgh?
yes, many, many,
Many.
many playoffs,
Well, listen,
playoffs,
this is good that I'm
and
asking you about this.
I've had
Okay.
a full can of beer thrown at me in the parking lot.
Okay. Well, I mean, we,
It was
we
very nice.
had. You know how many trips I've made to Pittsburgh? All
Oh,
of them, right? Literally
tons,
all
I'm
of them,
sure.
right? I mean, all Christmas Eve, all of them, right? Like
Yep.
Christmas Day, I've woken up in Pittsburgh Christmas morning. Okay, so
Yeah, no.
that's how when Chad Steele looks across said that I'm not committed to covering the Ravens, that I have to laugh in his face and just say he's not a man of integrity. So I would say this: we took our bus trip up there 20 times, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
we would always pull in. We had a driver named Dennis, who was one of the great guys ever. He got thrown out of Canada. It's a long story. Argue who. So Dennis would always wear a Dennis Pitta jersey, right? He always had, the 88,
Yep,
right?
yep,
And he would drive in it. He would drive, he would pick us up in White Marsh, Gunther Motor Coach. He would drive us in it.
yep.
And we had a whole series of drivers because when we would do Pittsburgh, we'd take 3-4 buses. So
Right.
I knew all the drivers. I would drive one bus to Breezewood. I would get off and get on the other bus with my son, my wife. My son would run buses. We're family business.
Right.
So like a real small business, like Clear Channel and
Yeah, like those.
iHeartRadio
Right.
and
Just like that.
yeah. Odyssey. So we would pull into Pittsburgh, and you know how it's on an island, like for real. It's an island,
Yeah,
right, where
yeah.
they play football. We would pull in and we had our parking pass thing that we were supposed to have for the bus that you get ahead of time or whatever. And when they would see Dennis with the Ravens jersey on
Oh
as the
no.
driver, they
Yep.
wouldn't let him in the lot.
Oh, great. So So have I ever
So I
told
got
you my
55 people. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We've been on the bus since 6 a.m. and
right?
we can't even get in. I mean, I don't want to say it was hostile because I never encountered any sort of physical in a lot of
Yeah, no,
places, and I went a lot of places in
yeah,
Oiler jerseys.
yeah,
I would tell Roger Goodell when I saw him, you're going to have someone die in your upper deck, and you really should make this a little more friendly than like Crips and Bloods, right?
sure.
But I would say Pittsburgh was never hostile in my way
Yeah,
of
it
thinking.
wasn't
Like,
terrible. Have I ever told you my Pittsburgh story about getting into the stadium?
go ahead.
Okay, so this is a classic, and I think the statute of limitations is long gone, so they can't do much
What year
about it.
was it? I'll let you
Oh,
know.
this is
We
the
check with legal.
playoffs, easily 20 years ago. If
Was
yeah,
it the
easily.
Elvis Grbac game they lost?
Probably, yeah. So
Because
so
they
let
didn't
me
play a lot of playoff
so
games
no
up
no no.
there,
So let
right?
me give you this. Let me give you this deal. I have a friend who lives in Frederick who's from Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
native, like deep Ewins native
Yins.
Pittsburgher, Yins, right?
Yins.
And so he invited myself and my past business partner up for the game, and I said, great. So we take a U.S. Air flight. That's how long ago. We take a little U.S. Air
Sure it wasn't
puddle jumper.
Piedmont?
No, it was U.S. Air. Little U.S. Air
Sure
jumper.
it wasn't Eastern Air?
Right, exactly. TWA. Anyway, we land in Pittsburgh. We get a taxi because there's no Ubers then.
Well,
There's
and
no
when you
Ubers.
land in Pittsburgh, you're in West Virginia. I mean, you're way the hell
Right.
out. But go ahead. You're in
And so
Ohio.
we get a car and we meet him at this bar. Now, it's the winter. I'm wearing my purple Ravens coat, my Lewis jersey. We're all decked out. We get to this bar.
And we had just won the Super Bowl. I want to clarify that.
We get to this bar,
Clarify
and
that we had just won the Super Bowl. Yes.
And needless to say, we're walking into a Pittsburgh Steeler bar where they're all tailgating and drinking, and we walk in, the two of us, and it was just harassment
Was
central.
it like the scene in Animal House when they went
Yes.
in where Otis was there?
Yes, we dance with your dates. So we go, and he tells these people, look, these are friends of mine. Be cool, be cool. Then we take a school bus to the lot from the bar. Okay, so we take a school bus. We get there, and we have to get out.
You're the only one on the school bus in purple. Okay.
Two, myself and my business partner.
Okay.
The only two in purple. And when we get to the
and
lot,
this was
we get
day
to the game.
Our fans didn't go up there then.
No, they didn't travel a ton.
We did not have a traveling fan contingent.
Get to the
we barely
game,
had a freaking logo.
They make us jump out of the back of the bus. Like a school bus, like a fire drill. All right, so that's cool. So now we're walking, and we're walking, and I say to the guy, and I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to get him in any trouble. Where's the tickets? Back then you still had tickets, right? Paper tickets. He says, I don't have tickets. Dude, I flew here from Baltimore. I'm coming to watch playoff game. You don't have any tickets? What do you mean we don't have tickets? He says, just come with me. Don't worry about it. So we walk along the row of get patted down. We get patted down. And now we get up to the turnstiles. And we walk like a quarter of the way around the stadium. And he walks up and he says, hey, Joe. Joe says, hey, good morning, Tom. How many? He says, 5. He says, come on in. And we walk right into the stadium with no tickets. So then, I'm like, okay, great. We're in. Where am I sitting? He goes, don't worry about it. Just come with me. We go up the escalator to the club level. We get to the club level door, and they have 2 entrances to the club level.
By the way, Mr. Rooney listens to this show. He's not going to be happy about this.
I'm with you. Hey, listen, I'm not naming any names of anybody that knows anybody. So there's 2 lines of people going into the club level, Ness, and I swear to God, this guy says, follow me. And we crouch down and walk between the 2 lines right into the club level. I had never done anything like this in my life. I said, you got to be kidding me. So now we're in the club level. Okay, now what? Well, follow me.
I've never snuck into an event that I could tell you about. Like in my life, I'm just trying to think. I've been in rooms I shouldn't have been in.
Dude, this was the craziest thing.
I've been in the Super Bowl VIP lounge in Dallas 15 years ago in an area I had no business being, and hung for 5 hours. I've done that, but I've never walked into the building without a ticket. I don't think
I'm thinking I'm going to be in jail in Pittsburgh in Ravens purple with my purple camo pants and a Ray Lewis jersey. This is not very good. We get to the 50-yard line. I kid you not. The guy opens the door, says, "Come on in." We walk in the 50-yard line, and about 6 rows up in the club level is Mike Tomczak's wife in
Wearing an
her,
18 jersey, no doubt.
oh, no, wearing a full mink fur coat, and a couple other players, and we are sitting in the players' family section because it's not full on the 50-yard line club level to watch this game. It was the
Well, we
craziest.
lost, so
Yes, it was the craziest football day of my life. And then we lost. And then we go back to the bar, and we hung out
Oh,
and
you
had
had to
dinner.
get on the school bus.
Yeah, and then we hung out and had dinner with him and his family. And the restaurant, the radio announcer for the Steelers does the post game from this restaurant. And we're hanging out there listening to the evening post game. Oh, it was dreadful. And then flew home. It was an adventure I will never forget.
I don't
Anyway,
think I did a bus trip for that one. Maybe I did. I mean, I'm like, yeah, of course I did. Saragusa, it was the last game he ever played in, and I remember being at his locker and where his locker was in that room.
terrible.
It's the second time today I brought this up. Leonard Raskin is our guest here, Baltimore Positive, because Luke was in the locker room, and I'm very familiar with that locker room.
Yeah.
And Luke's like, there are guys here who haven't won here, and I remember Rob Burnett in the old stadium at Three Rivers saying to me, I've never won here when he got here in 1996, 1997, 1998, because it's getting to
Terrible.
be a little bit like that with Pittsburgh. And I'll give you my, since we had there in the playoff game, and then we lost the championship game, the Palomalu game, right? There was a game where we had the big lead at halftime, Flacco era, Ed Reed era.
Yep.
At 10-11, Luke would remember this. It was after the championship game, but they eliminated us that day. And it was the 10 season, I guess. And I ran into Jerome Bettis, who I know pretty well, in the club level, but in the press box. I had a pass, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
And my wife was in the upper deck with fans. My wife was sitting in the only upper deck in the end zone where there are seats, the one that shakes. I mean, that upper deck moves in that Pittsburgh stadium, right? And my wife was up there, and I was meeting her under her seat. So at halftime, instead of eating Mr. Rooney's cookies, I went through the club level and I ran into Jerome Bettis, and he conceded the game to me at halftime.
Yeah, right.
He's like, you got us today, man.
Nice.
You're finally going to get us. He gave me a hug. We took a picture. We laughed. We lost.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't want to say that place has been a house of horrors.
It has.
I remember Torrey
Smith
Smith
pretty
catching
bad.
a big
Yeah,
catch.
but it's been pretty bad.
I remember Antoine dropping one. I remember walking across the bridge with Luke and other former employees of mine shooting videos because we won, videos because we lost.
Yep.
I remember meeting over at Point State Park a billion times, and we always staged our buses across the river, because it's easier to get out, right? Once we learned they wouldn't let us park on the island because our driver had a Dennis Pitta jersey on, or a Todd. He was actually wearing a Todd Heap jersey back. He was in '86, right. And then he went to a Pitta, but he was a tight end guy. So I would just say to you, this one is uniquely stenchy in a lot of ways.
Terrible.
And it's where they're the first place team, and it's been a long time since the Pittsburgh Steelers have been our daddy in that way.
Yeah, it was terrible. Look, we have lost 4 games this season, and no team has beaten us. We have beaten ourselves 4 times, and this is just more evidence of. I saw a graphic the couple days ago. I couldn't believe it. It was the number of penalties teams had, ranked from top to bottom, and we were far and away the worst penalized team in the league. I mean, by a dozen or more. And here we are, a dozen penalties. How the heck do you have an illegal man downfield 3 times in a game and twice?
Well, that's a function of the RPO.
Right, I get it, but it's dreadful. And not lining up right, and holdings, and roughing the quarterback, and you name it, they did it. And it's terrible. It's just terrible. And then 3 turnovers and 2 missed field goals. You might have 5 turnovers. I mean, that's what that is. It's like going for it on 4th down and missing. So I don't know what's up with Tucker. My wife thinks there's something wrong with him and nobody's talking about it. I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not his doctor, but I think Father Time takes no prisoners, and he's a prisoner of Father Time.
All right, so here's where I bring the comedy into the show because I'm on the
It's
internet
dreadful.
and
It's
I've dealt with
dreadful.
all sorts of people, Republicans, Democrats, far left, far right, political this, all that. So here's my little piece of comedy off of the Justin Tucker thing because
Yeah.
I'm Royal Farm sponsored.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
literally was eating Royal
I
Farms
saw you.
chicken during
I
the
saw you.
game. Well, I had
Yep.
leftovers on Sunday because I get Rofo once or twice a week. I mean, honestly, my,
I'm with
my
you.
wife makes a lot of salads and I'll grab some fried. It's the most delicious chicken on earth, right?
Absolutely.
So and Tucker, so someone puts up, I mean, everybody wants to fire and bench him. He's
I don't know what you
do
do.
whatever, all that. The holder's bad, whatever your vibe
I don't know
is.
what it
This
is,
has
but
nothing to do with this.
listen.
This was one status from one person, and I don't even know who it was, but I want to
Yeah.
credit them.
Yeah.
It said, less chicken, more kicking.
Ah. Fantastic.
Not mine. I can't own it. I
That's
mean,
fantastic.
I cannot own that. All right.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. I don't know what it is, but something's greasy in there. Something's greasy in there, and that's the game.
Dude, I was
But
all ready to rename Western fries Winter fries or
there
Tucker
you go. There
fries
you
or,
go.
you know what I mean?
He missed two. They fumbled twice. That interception, I don't know how you call that an interception. I think that's a fumble, reception fumble takeaway. I don't think that's an interception on Lamar at all. I mean, my goodness, that was a Justice Hill. He's going backwards, and as he's falling down, he can't hold the ball, and the guy steals it out of his arms. That's by no means. I don't think
By
you
the
can
way,
call that an
Steelers play
interception.
defense. Steelers,
Yeah,
I mean,
they played great
Patrick
defense.
Queen looked like he's been waiting
And
for this game
Likely,
for 5
I don't know.
months.
I thought Likely's arm was down before that ball came out, but I'm not the officials that review the plays. My wife, here's Kathy's take on this whole thing. You ready?
What's the most important take? She's already made the most. I know both of you. I trust her.
Here's her take on the whole thing. The NFL wants Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. And therefore the Ravens cannot win because the conglomerate that is the NFL.
No, Chiefs already lost.
No. But that's one game. That's all that matters. That's okay. That's fair. But they don't want the Ravens to win because they know the Ravens can beat the Chiefs. I said, well, Buffalo just beat the Chiefs.
It's funny. Your wife's already got them playing in January.
Oh, she's got the conspiracy of the Chiefs.
Listen, this is where Luke and
across
I
the league
spent a lot of time today. And look, Justin
This
Tucker's
was an
kicking,
ugly game.
Ugly game. We can talk about the game, but in the big picture of things, where the Steelers are, where the Bills now are, and I know we beat them and blah, 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 but where January is going to be is on the road. And
well, you got
point,
enough games. No, you got enough games to change that. You need some help. Now you need some help. You got Pittsburgh here. They have the Browns, the Bengals, and the Browns the next 3 games. You need some help. Somebody's got to beat them. One of those teams, 2 of those teams. They got to go 1-2 in that.
You got to help yourself. You better go out and beat your brother next Monday night, right?
Oh, that's right. Horrible ball. It's the Harbaugh Bowl or whatever you call it. The Harbaugh Bowl. Yes, and they played 2 interesting halves of football on Sunday night. They played a great first half, terrible second half, and they won in the last 2 minutes. So, but here's the other piece that I will still, no matter what happens, I have a friend of mine who's a Nashville guy, Tennessee guy, big Tennessee guy. He sends me a text after the game. 13 carries, not gonna happen. It's all that Derek touched the ball 13 times. 2-point conversion at the end of the game.
Is your friend positive about Derrick Henry, thinking
loves
you're
him.
winning the Super Bowl because of him,
and thinks you're losing because you're not using him?
Okay.
Yeah. He says to me, 2-point conversion, run left, no receivers, no Henry on the field. Who's your coach?
Well, I wrote Todd Monken / in italic in my column.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. How do you not have Derrick Henry on the field and give him the chance, he and Lamar, to run where there's not 6 defenders and no blocking and no receiver, and Lamar running left? I don't get that at all. There was nobody there. Nobody. No blockers, no receivers. There were like 5 linemen in Lamar against 8 Steelers. It was the craziest 2-point call I think I've seen. And they blocked it terribly, and he ran to nothing, and it was over. But that's not the issue of this game. 3 turnovers, 12 penalties, 2 missed field goals, a lot of bad play. Defense, my goodness. You hold the Steelers to 5 field goals, you expect to win that game. It's that
six,
simple.
because of the 18. But it
6,
was
sorry,
5, then it
6.
became 6.
6,
right.
6, 18. I mean, you held them out of the end zone every darn time. Defense was stellar. It was old Ravens defense, and then they didn't win. So anyway, let me go to 3. Let's go here. 3, 3, 3. While we're talking about the number 3, I want to just bring up one other thing that's been amazing. Do you know who the leading goal scorer is as of this morning in the NHL?
That would be Alex of the great 8. That would be 8.
That would be the 39-year-old Alex Ovechkin with 13 goals, a hat trick against the vaunted Vegas Golden Knights on Sunday night. This guy is playing like he's 29. He is blocking shots. He is banging people into the boards, and he is scoring at a pace that people thought he would break Gretzky's record next season. He's on pace to do it in February.
Well, here's an interesting thing for him, and I covered him a little bit. I don't know him at all, but I've been around him in a locker room sense.
Yeah.
I was at the team celebration for hours. I mean, I've been in a room with Alex a million times. I've taken pictures, whatever. I've asked questions at the locker or whatever, but I don't know Alex at all.
Yeah.
And from the outside looking in, there is a point when you have this level of greatness and a level of health that you know the difference. He's been injured.
Yeah.
He's had issues.
Yeah.
He's always powered through. Russian machine never breaks, right? Of
course. Right.
But at the end of his career versus pick any great athlete, Venus, Serena, Brady, Gretzky, his body's allowing him to do it at this point, and I think he's closer to I don't think he's going to play till he's 44.
No, he's going to play till he gets the record.
And
if he breaks it this year, the season will be his last. That was my guess. He breaks it this year, it's over. He doesn't break it this year, next year's it.
So knowing that and getting to the end, and this will give you a chance to talk about money and your event on Wednesday night, which I want to promote. And I want to come back to Jim Harbaugh. I'll do all of that, but I want to promote the event and give you an entree to that, because it really is about planning, being well, all of these things that Ovechkin has done to say the record is the goal at this point. I've won the Stanley Cup. I'm going to the
Stanley Cup's
the
goal. They come hand in hand this season. The team's got to be better, and the team is better, which gives him the chance to play better, which gives him the chance to break the record, which gives him the chance to win one more time. That's the goal.
Well, there is a thought that if you're doing it and it's the last time you're doing it, and I think this for bands that have goodbye tours. I think about Rush. We're mutual Rush fans. They went out not on everybody's terms, as Getty wrote about in his book, but in Neil's terms of like, this is it. I'm going to do it the best way I can do it, because I can't do it anymore the way I used to be able to do it. And we've seen bands go too far, right?
That's right.
Literally lip syncing, this, that, whatever.
Where Ovechkin
is. Well, they started at it. Now Frankie Valli and, Mariah Carey and people that used to be able to sing.
Right.
There is a point for Ovechkin to say he still can do this in the way Brady could at a level that is – I mean, it broke up Brady's marriage, right? Like, Brady went to Tampa because he was so obsessed with having to do it. He wasn't even chasing anybody but himself. He was only chasing himself. This guy's chasing a thing, and he's good enough to do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like witnessing true greatness stay motivated and well enough and good enough and sharp enough to be able to pull this off. And that's where when Springsteen goes out and does it at 77, or I even saw Mick Jagger do it at 81, and it wasn't awful.
Mailing it in.
It's because it's where they want to be, and it means that much to them. That when they have $100 million in the bank, and Putin's going to give them the country,
exactly,
and all of that. What's important to you today? What's important to Alex Ovechkin today is what was important to him when he was 16 years old.
Absolutely,
trying to get off the Russian
being the
farm.
best he
today,
could that ever existed
today
in the world. The best goal scorer, go down in history as the best goal scorer in the history of the game. And he is, by all accounts, accounts of the sport, people that follow the sport, he already is. But by those that think that needs to be done via a record, he will be, unless his body doesn't let him.
It's hard to lead the league in goals when you're 24, 26, 28, 30. It was hard for him.
That's right.
He wasn't the leading scorer. for years. I mean, there were
Yeah,
times when he
he was
wasn't.
for years and he wasn't for years. But right now, the fact that he is playing at this level at 39 years old, like you said, the dedication to single-mindedness, to focus, to a goal, to carry that out is unbelievable. And when I listen to, you go back to Derrick Henry with 13 carries. When I heard an interview with him, says he spends $250,000 a year on his body and wellness and mental fitness and health, and what it takes to compete at his age at that level and be as strong and tough as he is. I don't know what Ovechkin spends, but it's got to be a
And he still
fortune.
fumbled in the first, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
they
it's still hard.
knocked that out. Yeah,
You know what I mean? I mean, like, Derrick Henry's going to the Hall. He's my guy, right?
absolutely.
And yet still you miss the net. The goalie makes a save.
That's
You
right.
turn your ankle. You get
That's
hurt.
right.
Something
And
bad
that's
happens.
it. That's
right.
it.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's amazing the talent level and the dedication to your craft. People that say you can't get there, people that say I can't do it, people that say I can't get ahead, the man's got it out for me or whatever it is. If you have a focus to do something in your life, man, there is no stopping you. The opportunities are endless. And look, I'm not going to be a goal scorer, a pitcher, or a quarterback, but I can get out there and do what I do better than anybody else and be single-mindedly focused about it and achieve amazing results. And that's what we're about in our lives. But watching these guys in these sports where the physical takes its toll is unbelievable that they're producing at the level they're producing. It's just
Well, that's why we love sports, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Your money thing on Wednesday, real quick. Let everybody know.
Yes.
Everybody knows you do the American Dream, but
yes.
you're doing a little seminar thing on Wednesday, and it's important.
Wednesday night, 6:00, all about protecting your wealth. It's one thing to know how to invest it. That's important. Critical is the factor of knowing that no matter what happens, what you hope happens, happens. That is, you're in a car accident. Nobody takes all your money. You're sick or disabled. Your family doesn't suffer the loss financially of that occurrence. You die too soon. Your family isn't destitute. They're not setting up a GoFundMe page to take care of your costs, your needs. I see it too often, Ness. I see people, so-and-so, celebrity, so-and-so, not celebrity. Nothing hurts my spirit more than when I see somebody who died and the family sets up a GoFundMe page to help the spouse and kids continue on in their life, when for a cup of coffee a day, they could have bought a life insurance policy that would have protected the family from that misery. And people don't understand how important the protection is. And sadly, the insurance industry makes light of it. You got Liberty Mutual, you got the Allstate guy with the mayhem, and but this is real stuff. This is stuff that happens, and you got to know what and how to protect yourself, your family, your being from these things that can take out your financial future. And that's what we work with people to do. We're doing a session. It's about an hour long, 6:00 Wednesday night. If you want to see it, want to attend it, it's open, it's free. There's an invitation on the front page of Raskin Global on our website, bottom right side. You can look at our schedule and click into the event and look at our events page and show up. All you got to do is show up, ask any questions you want. We are happy to help people, especially our listeners that are out here. We get calls, Ness, from your listeners, our listeners, all the time, asking us questions about investing, tax, insurance. We're happy to help people that are out there fighting this fight and want to have the American dream. And it gets destroyed when you get sick and you don't have the right health insurance, or you're disabled and you can't work and your family suffers. I don't have to talk to you about health insurance.
My wife, and it's
That's
changed the course of the things I'm willing to talk about. We're doing a lot of football around here, but we can walk and chew gum, and we're going to do music later in the week, and we can talk about Jim Harbaugh and all that. But this is real life, and
absolutely,
and it's your sponsorship that powers the things we do here to be able to have a diversity of conversation around here in regard to really important things that if you live long enough, and I did, and my wife did, and my mother and father lived long, like it will affect you. It comes to
absolutely.
You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it.
No, I have a colleague of mine who has father and father-in-law, both in nursing homes.
Almost everybody in my life right now is really dealing.
They planned for his father. They planned for his father, and insurance companies are paying that cost. There weren't plans for the father-in-law, and
they're incurring
the family is directly incurring the cost.
Yeah.
1 in 3 of us will suffer that need if we live long enough. And the fact of the matter is we are all living longer. And that's a good thing, except when it's not a good thing and it wipes out your wealth and it wipes out generational wealth because you didn't plan for it. Uh, it is something that people have to recognize. And the government's not here to help you. You have to help yourself. And the American dream is about that. It's about helping yourself. And one of the ways you help yourself is to make sure you're protected from those things that would wipe out your wealth for you, your family, and for generations to come. And we want to make sure that's maintained and kept. And the money goes to where you want, not to where you don't want. So Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, grab it on our website. Look at our events calendar and grab the app and just snack on and say, I want to be there.
You know what, man? You inspired me last month when we did that Capitol Center,
Yeah.
the thing we did over at Costas during the Crab Cake Tour, going through the ticket stubs and all of that kind of stuff and jogging the memories.
Yeah.
And bands, the Duran's coming through. Dude, I almost sent you a text. I was listening to Depeche Mode cleaning my place over the weekend.
There you go.
Through our friendship. And I almost sent you a text. I'm like, how did we F that up not going to see Depeche Mode last year? Like,
terrible.
They toured and I missed it. And
yep.
I was supposed to go the first night in Sacramento and I didn't. And
Calendar.
I just
we blew it.
really, really screwed it up. So I'm trying to be better about all that. But this music thing has come to me that I have all of these interviews in one place. And I've been a little inspired by it, by this International Music Day and wanting to get it all out. When folks like you, who I know pretty well, say, you interviewed Lou Gramm? You interviewed who? You interviewed Depeche Mode? Really?
Yep.
You have a tape of that? And you could put it up on, and they're in the Hall of Fame now,
Absolutely.
So
I went. I was there. I wasn't there when they were inducted, but I went shortly after, and it was magnificent to see all the stuff there. Judas Priest and Depeche Mode in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
They have 2 interviews with Rob Halford, one from 1986 and or 88 Turbo Tour, and
How great are they?
And then one Iron Maiden came through last week. I sit down with Bruce Dickinson. Nobody's ever heard it. I mean, literally. So the real story is this on these tapes and this music classic thing. And I do want to talk about Jim Harbaugh for a moment before we go. But you're going to hear this music thing this week. And when my wife got sick, I had a lot of time on my hands at the hospital. All of these were on these little micro cassettes, little Radio Shack cassettes, little courtroom mini cassettes. And so I have them all. I digitized them all.
That's
and in 2014, I decided if I put it together, it would create radio so I could take my wife maybe to New Zealand and Australia when she got better, which I did. I did the 30 ballparks in 30 days, which I did. So I did these things in 15, 16, 17. I had these tapes and I put them all digitized, but I only brought out, my criteria was, you're going to do Billy Joel, Bon Jovi, David Bowie, Robert. You're going to do those first. Geddy Lee.
Yeah,
sure. The obvious ones. And then there was the secondary ones and then the tertiary ones, which were the Smithereens, good bands, good stuff.
Yeah.
Pat Denizio died. And now, so in the last 12 years, I have watched every year all of these bands go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame who I have interviews with from all of the era, beginning with the Go-Go's. I found a Belinda Carlisle interview from 1989, right? I'm mad about you. So I found all of these interviews and I'm going to re-earth another 25 Hall of Famers.
Awesome.
Have gone into the Hall of Fame since they weren't in the Hall of Fame before, but are in the Hall of Fame now, right? So I'm doing that this week. So you're going to hear a lot of music, but I am a little remiss because this Jim Harbaugh thing, and I want to ask you this for a moment. I have old interviews with Jim Harbaugh that I found when he took his first job in San Diego.
Okay.
He sat with me at the NFL Combine in Indy. We sat down when he just became the 49ers coach and was coming back into the NFL after he had been at Stanford.
Right.
When he was at Stanford, I would run into him. I mean, he's in my phone. He's never changed his phone number.
Sure.
He did me a favor. So this is a God, I didn't even mean to tell this story. I'm going to tell this story about Jim. 2.5 years ago, it was probably I haven't talked to John since I've been thrown out.
Yeah.
I got thrown out almost 2.5 years ago now. So, Jim was coaching Michigan. My dear friend, Rob Santoni's Markets, the Santoni family, had a cousin who is a Michigan alum, big fan,
Right.
wife, the
Right.
whole deal. And I think lived in Michigan, and was suffering a terminal illness.
Mm.
And he reached to me and said, it would mean the world if there's any. So I reached to John. I'm like, hey, man, I got to get this thing to Jim. He's like, I said, this is the number I have on Jim. It's Jim's number. Just text him. That's his number. But Jim texts me back. Boom. Next thing I know, Jim's FaceTiming with this man, his family, wife, soon to be widow. He died
Yeah. Yeah.
within weeks of Jim doing this for me. I saw Jim in March down at the owners' meetings when Bisciotti and Eric literally ran from me like cowards.
Yep.
Jim, meanwhile, gets out of the limo with Joe Ortiz and the Spanos family and offers me Uzo and stops and meets Luke and warmly and his wife and introduces me to his wife as the number one radio guy in Baltimore sports history. That's how he introduces me. He clearly had maybe a drink. I'm not sure. Maybe
whatever.
He can't drink.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
It's fine. I'll accept that.
Right. Sure.
So I have this long-standing relationship with Jim. I need to ask you this as the Ohio State guy. So
yeah.
Please pretend that I'm asking you this in a professional setting.
Yes, of course.
How much cheating? What did he do there? How would you explain it to me without being biased as a Buckeye guy?
No, it's easy.
Like
it's easy.
Cheating part of what he did and leaving the place on fire.
Yes.
This is a good week to talk about that because he'll never do it.
Right. So supposedly, and they got sanctioned. They didn't lose their championship or anything like that. But here's the rules as I know it. Unlike the NFL, you are not allowed to scout other teams in college football. What you watch on TV or whatever, that's fine. You can see what you see to the public, but you can't do any covert scouting. They had a guy who had tickets to all of the upcoming teams' games and would go to watch the games and would scout signals and was apparently a Navy code dude. That was his life. He was like a Naval Academy, Navy code something guy. I don't know the exact, but long story short, they would crack the team's play series. He kind of knew algorithms, and they would crack the team's play series and predict very clearly what plays were coming up based on circumstance. And when you kind of know what the other team's going to do in advance on a very high level that you're not supposed to have any level of,
even if it's banging trash cans.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
There's just an integrity issue.
That's right.
I don't need to say this.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Let's make it easy. Wait. Let's make this kind of easy. College, you don't have a continuing roster. So obviously there's turnover, right? We know there's turnover. But they're 5-5 this year at Michigan. They were undefeated for 3 seasons, the last 3 while this guy was doing his thing. And then they got caught in their national championship season, and Jim couldn't coach the first X number of games, and he couldn't coach the last X number of games because of this scandal. They have not had wins vacated, but the NCAA slapped them, I think, pretty hard with some money fines.
And Jim's running around playing his brother on Monday night on a new $80 million contract, right?
At the Superchargers, yes, because he turns teams around and he wins, and now he can scout. Now it's legal to scout. You're encouraged to scout.
Well, I don't know. Belichick had monkeys and trees, right? So
whatever he had, they won all those Super Bowls, so he did it. I don't know. The bottom line is
on integrity and cheating. In your line of work, they put handcuffs on you,
oh my God,
Bernie Madoff, and throw you in prison.
Well,
right?
that's fully illegal. That was flat out illegal. Yeah, cheating is not a good thing. Integrity is critical. And my opinion, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. You got to sleep in that bed by yourself at night with your thoughts. And if you can sleep at night,
if you're the kind of person that can sleep with that,
then you are who you are.
Yeah.
Well, then, you live with that, and God bless. If that goal, we were talking about Ovechkin, we were talking about Brady. If that goal is paramount in your world, and you find any way possible to get it, that brass ring, and that includes bending the rules, playing a different game, then you go do that. You be you. I don't play that way. I can't play that way. They say you've heard this, I'm sure, a million times. When you tell the truth, you don't have to have a long memory. You just say what you say.
John Rollo's a buddy of mine. I ran into him last week at a Accelerant. Or not Accelerant, it was actually it was the Connex event, not the
Yeah, yeah,
Accelerant
yeah,
event. And I ran
yeah.
into John. John's going to be speaking about security and whatnot. He's running around. John's been on the show. I've known John since we were 8 years old. We played Little League baseball, Little League football, and we
Right.
were altar boys together at Our
There you
Lady of
go.
Fatima. So we had the big three, the Holy Trinity in East Baltimore: baseball, football, and Our Lady of Fatima, and
Beautiful.
CCD, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
But
geez.
John has said to me many times in his life, "Man, all we got, what we're from, is our word.
Amen. It's all you are.
That's it. All
And
we
it
got is our
takes
word."
it takes a lifetime to create that, and one screw up to blow it.
Well,
And in his case, there have been multiple screw ups.
but
And
in an integrity case, as Luke Jones drove alone to Pittsburgh and back after I
yeah,
did it for 30 years, and
yeah,
now I'm not worthy because the length of my hair, the color of my skin. You have to tell me why. I don't know.
yeah.
But
No,
then
no
John
answers.
Harbaugh sends me text as though he has integrity. John Harbaugh has no integrity. I promise you from the inside. I know this. I can show you the text. I can show you the words.
I get
So
it.
I
I
don't.
get it.
Jim Harbaugh, you would say, as an Ohio State fan, was doing stuff that was clearly against their rules, as we would say
Amen.
in the good
Absolutely.
old hockey game.
Absolutely. And won a national championship and beat Ohio State 3 years in a row, which they
Do it
hadn't
on the up and
done.
up. You shouldn't have to break rules. If you're
That's right. If
great,
you're good, if you're great, play it straight, win the game. I'm
is
all for it.
Ovechkin on the clear or on the cream?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I mean,
I know he was rooting through the files at ESPN. Do you remember that commercial?
dude, whatever it is, it
Do you
hasn't
remember
changed the
that?
color of his hair. He's not
E-
using any Grecian formula.
ESPN has some of the greatest commercials ever. Do you remember the one where
Oh, all of
Ovechkin
them,
was rooting
sure.
through the files and Steve Levy comes in? What you doing, Ovi? He's just doing some research. He says, we thought you might be stealing Russian secrets, and then Varlamov is up in the roof, and they pull him up the pulley up into the roof. It's just the greatest ever. I mean, they're so funny, and
Well,
that
the
was a
mascot
classic.
commercials were the best.
Oh, there's so many fantastic ones. I mean, we could spend hours on that, but they do that themselves. So they were some of the best ever. I don't know if they're as good anymore, but some of them
By
were
the
just
way, Kenny
so good.
Mayne did the show last week.
Yeah.
Kenny's a buddy of
Okay.
mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has a movie out on wiffle ball. And
Okay.
he and I sent him my childhood pictures of my wiffle ball games.
Yep.
We got into it a little bit because we're friends. And I bet he did a dozen of those commercials,
Oh,
right?
there's
In
no
the
doubt. He
day.
was
I
classic.
should have just bring him on and,
He
and
was
talk about the
classic.
ESPN
Just
commercials.
they were so fantastic. One of the best. And again, we can talk about this
The
forever.
commercials were like an extension of the main event almost.
That's
right.
Big Poppy wearing the Yankee hat, and the Red Sox mascot looking in the window, just like freaking out. It's just some of the best. Some of the
He
best.
is Leonard Raskin. He has his big Zoom thing about money and about responsibility and about taking
There we
care of your
go.
money and wealth management. You can find him at Raskin Global. That's on Wednesday night. If you miss it, no problem. Just send him an email. We're going to be here for the duration. For people like Leonard who love music, if you love music, if you like my conversations in the modern era, I'm going to unearth some very embarrassing old ones with David Cassidy and Engelbert Humperdinck from the 1980s. I found my Harry Connick Jr.
There you go.
I've unearthed a whole bunch of folks like who have passed away, and I have found these tapes, including Brad Delp and Dan Fogelberg, amongst many, David Bowie, amongst many others.
Sure.
All of them will be living at Music Classic at Baltimore Positive into perpetuity, but they'll be airing here at AM 1570 this week as we get into Turkey. It's Turkey Week. Hey, by the way, are you pumpkin, mincemeat, apple? Where are you on the pie?
Apple.
You're apple? Okay.
Apple.
Hard for me to argue against pumpkin.
Apple.
I mean, I'm a pumpkin guy.
I'll do a piece because it's the season, but it's not my thing. Apple straight up. Big cinnamon sugar on the top. Nothing better.
Hot ice cream.
Hot with a scoop of vanilla bean. Absolutely.
Dude, I've attended your event. If there's not ice cream,
absolutely.
It's not a Raskin party.
It's not an event without ice cream. That's right.
All right. He's Leonard Raskin. I'm Nestor. There'll be some sports here. I promise you. Luke and I got you ready for the San Diego Superchargers. They're not San Diego anymore, though.
I don't know. Do they play that anymore?
We're not in Kansas anymore. I don't. I'm in Oiler mode, so when I hear the
I
Oiler
hear
fight
you.
song, I'm
Right.
thinking of these retired songs, and even the Baltimore Colts fight song that
Yep.
still zings and tugs at my heartstrings every time
That's
I
right.
see Burt Jones on the internet. I am Nestor. He's Leonard. It's a football week. It's Thanksgiving. It's music appreciation around here. Would you like to hear some music? Yes, I'd appreciate that. We're
Amen.
BaltimorePositive.com. Stay with us.